Chapter 19. Next, Yudir. Finally, Yudir's name was called. As Yudir stepped out of line, a conspicuous redhead in the crowd outside the open space, Gakane waved at him with a beaming smile. Those cavalry members who already held a last name didn't need to attend the ceremony, but most, like Gakane, watched from the outside of the field, sending their unabashed applause and cheers. Imperial knights passing by with sneers at their private ceremony were occasionally seen, but nobody paid them any mind. Yudir glanced once at Gakane before continuing on to ascend the platform. On the platform stood Kishir, wearing an imperial ceremonial cape over his usual white uniform. Underneath his golden hair, akin to the sun, his shining red eyes were as beautiful as the sun god depicted in the temple. But the gaze he cast on Yudir sparked with a distinctly human curiosity. You seem to be without nervousness, as I expected. Should I be nervous? In response to Kishir's quiet voice, Yudir tilted his head slightly and replied, eliciting an even deeper smile from him. No, I would have been disappointed if you were. That's settled then. After all, he was going through this for the second time. Had he trembled a bit for the first time? He couldn't quite remember. Without looking at the paper Kishir held, Yudir already knew what was written on it. Toward Yudir's impassive face, Kishir raised his voice and began to speak. I decree that the honorable last name, Ale, will be bestowed upon cavalry member Yudir. Thank you, I accept the honor. The given last name, as expected, had not changed. It was Ale, derived from the place where he had lived. Nevertheless, the name Yudir Ale, a member, not Yudrian Ale, the commander, seemed not too bad. He decided to think of it that way. Without looking back at Kishir, Yudir descended the platform. Not far away, Gakane was shouting cheers of congratulations with a wide smile. Yudir, there's going to be a celebration party. We should go too. After the ceremony ended, Gakane, who had run after Yudir, heading towards the dormitory, shouted cheerfully and patting his shoulder. Where? We have decided to go to the pub outside the grounds of the Imperial Knights. Juan has already contacted them to make sure it's entirely vacant. It's a 3-story building, so we won't run short on space. Everyone's already gone. He asked just in case, but the answer was expected. Yudir listened with one ear to Gakane's excited chatter, recalling old memories. I remember turning down the invitation before and training alone. Yudir, who had just joined the cavalry, didn't understand his peers, who were anxious to form relationships. What mattered to him then was proving to himself how far he could develop his power. Having nothing else of interest besides growing power, he rejected someone's invitation then and spent all day training at the training grounds. Even now, he doesn't enjoy social gatherings or drinking parties. But since becoming the commander and having been dragged around by the emperor's order until he was sick of it, he understood there were occasions he had to attend, whether he liked it or not. Compared to all sorts of foul meetings he had attended then, this was nothing. Back then and now, my goals are different. At present, Yudir's goal was not to increase his own power, but rather to prevent as many talents as possible from leaving the cavalry, preparing for future disasters. I can always improve my abilities, but once I lose a person, it's over. I have learned that. So you should go too, Yudir. It will be fun. All right, let's go. Yudhir quietly responded to the final words of Gakane, who has been chattering for a while. Upon hearing this, Gakane let out a sigh of relief and gave Yudhir a tight hug. I'm glad you decided to go. I was a bit worried you might refuse. It had been a long time since Yudhir had been embraced by someone. Startled by the unfamiliar feeling, Yudhir blinked, causing Gakane to quickly release his previously firm grasp. Ah, I'm sorry. Did that make you uncomfortable? No, it's fine. Good, then let's get going. Everyone will be waiting. With a grin, Gakane took Yudhir's arm and led him away. For the first time since joining the cavalry, Yudhir left the Imperial Knights' grounds. The familiar streets of the capital were bustling as ever, filled with enough people to give one a headache. Gakane navigated the crowd with surprising ease, watching him move forward smoothly as if he had eyes on the side of his head. Yudhir could not help but admire him. Here it is, the Black Whale. They say it's also an inn, and it's really big, isn't it? Finally, their destination appeared. As they approached the next wooden building, Gakane pointed out, the sound of uproarious laughter became increasingly audible. It seemed many people had already arrived. I'm here, and you there too. As Gakane, still holding Yudhir's arm, pushed open the door with his chest, cheers erupted. Gakane finally bought Yudhir. Since the bet's results are out, those who lost, throw your coins. Eh? I bet that he wouldn't come till the end. Someone grumbled and tossed a coin made of copper. Coins poured down from the second and even third floors. Yet the hat bearer managed to catch every single one of them. This wasn't simply a testament to his good reflexes. He had subtly used his ability to create wind. Laughter filled the tavern. Gakane, Yudhir, over here. Kana, sitting not too far away, waved her hand. Yudhir took a seat next to her, accompanied by Gakane. Familiar faces were seen all around. There were Ever, who had met during a training session at the Imperial Knights training ground not long ago, and Kurga, who had a bear-like face and had once been his roommate, among a few others sitting around the round table. On the table, there were already quite a lot of dishes and several bottles of alcohol. I bet on Yudhir showing up. I'm looking forward to the payment. It's going to be quite salty. As Kana beamed, a chorus of disappointed sighs and shouts of joy erupted around them. Don't be like that. What will you all do if he says he's not coming next time? You have made your bets so openly, Gakane spoke. No, Yudhir didn't even care about those fool nobles of the Imperial Knights, so it didn't seem like he would care about something like this, right? Isn't that so? Ever replied. With a worried expression, Gakane pushed a cup of rice wine towards Yudhir. In response to Gakane's words, Yudhir briefly answered, yes, in a dismissive manner, his gaze fixed on Ever, who was nodding in agreement. I'm fine either way. See, Gakane, you are too cautious with Yudhir, but thanks to that, we made some money, so I guess we should be thankful for today. Kana? Gakane sighed resigningly, lowering his head. Well then, it seems everyone is here except the young comrades who cannot come and the comrades with a situation. Let's officially start the celebration. A toast for our comrades who have been granted a last name. Cheers! The cavalry members all lifted their glasses in unison. To the glory of His Majesty the Emperor and our noble commander. Cheers! Cheers! And with that, the raucous party officially began. As they roamed freely around the tables, eating and drinking their heart's content, bright laughter and happiness echoed throughout. A former wandering band member was somehow playing live music with an old string instrument and flute that had been left in the corner of the shop, further lifting the spirits. One by one, the comrades who had been sitting at Yudhir's table left for other tables or ventured out to dance. Yudhir watched Gakane being dragged off by someone and dancing quite well, despite his obvious awkwardness, while he leaned against a wall, sipping his drink. He wondered if they had partied like this even when he hadn't been around. Just watching brought a not so bad feeling, prompting him to chuckle bitterly at why he hadn't come before. It seems much better than those nauseating noble parties. Although hardly anyone directly approached Yudhir, any comrades who made eye contact displayed their intent to toast from afar with a light smile. There was not a hint of negative emotion toward Yudhir in their eyes. It was thanks to the fact that they knew the full story of the incident that had occurred at the Imperial Knights training ground 2 days ago. The cavalry members were each somewhat confused, caught between the newfound overwhelming power they have gained and their original perception of the world. Everyone believed they could defeat anyone, but in front of the weaker noble knights, they often lost their nerve. Among the awakeners, there were those of high status, but those individuals either did not apply to the cavalry or even if they did join, they inevitably had a distance from the common bond members. In the midst of this, the incident Yudhir had caused was more than enough to provide each of them with a tremendous stimulus and a refreshing vicarious satisfaction. A cavalry member of common birth had stood up to a knight from a duke's house with nothing but his strength, and Commander Kishir had demonstrated that regardless of background, he would protect any cavalry member. Regardless of one's origin, from now on, the association with the cavalry would take precedence. It was a message that had been conveyed.